moving on to onto perception, and I know that just looking at some of the comments that we've got in the chat here, that people fearing for losing their jobs and not having an understanding of what changes are coming and where the resistance comes from. I mean, obviously, we look at with the change team, I know that Nick and I and our team have worked together on this. You consider the target operating models and where those roles within the organization sit within the system roles, and those have got to be mapped effectively, right? Because if they're not, then one, we don't understand the business roles and how they're playing into the system and vice versa, but also, and what changes come from those, but equally the tasks fall down from those and how they impact the day to day, which is vitally important for communicating back to that user community and getting their buy-in as to the benefits. And there's not always benefits. There may be changes that people are not happy with, but equally it's what the actual KPIs of the program are in the first place, and whether or not the program, the actual performance indicators are indicated back through into the business, so they understand the reasons of why this implementation or this change is coming. So some of those will be beneficial, others may not be, but it's how they're managed. And to do that, obviously, we've got to look at the roles in the business and how they play back into the system. And then obviously that then drives what training is delivered to who, as you've just rightfully said. And coming back to that, giving people early sight of the system, alleviates fears, because they can see visually, what it is that the system's going to be doing, what it looks like, and presenting them with some demonstrations of how they would perform those tasks certainly breaks down some barriers. So, just coming on to the fears here, Nick, we've got a few items here to talk about. Would you like to talk us through some of these?
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk about the job roles one as well, because it is one that is a big fear for people, is that what's going to happen to my job. So in terms of you're always going to get that fear, and I think I would always say, coming back to think about those types as well, because often somebody might feel like they're a victim, right? But they talk about jobs and new operating models and new Oracle roles and things like that. And so you need to be cognizant of that when you're having these conversations. What you don't want to do is like walk in there like a bull in a china shop, so to speak. You need to be understanding about trying to find what the positivities you can take out of this. I would say that I've seen some really good examples in the past of how to try and help alleviate some of those fears, because things will change, that's for sure. But just some simple things about actually summarizing in a way that people can see, this is my job role today, this is what my job role is in the future, ignoring kind of the some of the Oracle terminology side of things, but focusing on some of the ownership and responsibilities that they'll have. But also alongside with that, I've seen some really good one-pagers for each job. It sort of says, this is what you do today, this is what the world's going to look like in the future, this is the communication and how we'll engage with you on this journey, and this is the training that you're going to have. And also a very realistic assessment of how big the change is for them as an individual. Yeah, this is big or small. And I know that sounds quite straightforward, but I've seen some really good examples in one page. And if I put that in front of one of those people, they say, okay, I understand it now. And I see that you've given some thought about how you're going to help me with this transition. And, although I still may not be happy about certain things, I'm a bit more comfortable. And this is the perceptions, right? You're trying to get people a bit more on board with what's happening. So I think taking that time to walk through that is really key here.
Yeah, what we call a DILO, day in the life of, taking them through that day in the life of is really important, and they can see and understand the impact on their day to day. And Shelley, from your perspective?
Yeah, just I think it's just worth highlighting, that obviously we've pulled out some typical fears that people sort of experience during an ERP implementation, but it's just the bits underneath that, what's driving that, and one of those being in that fear of failure, and that's really big and really real. There is a lot of change going on, and so people naturally have this fear of failure, both at a business level, concerned about whether it can be achieved and whether it's possible, but then also at that personal level, the fear of failure when it's you're taking on new roles or you've got to learn new tasks. This fear is a real big driver and something we kind of really need to sort of focus on. And I think that's again another one of those things that can really help here is that that hands-on training, simulation-based training, giving people the opportunity to have a go, but also giving people the space to fail, to get it wrong, to go in the system and have a go, get it wrong early, and kind of get that out of the way, so that fear is gone by the time you go in live. People have seen it, they've done it, they've got it wrong, but it's all happened in that safe environment, that safe space, ready for them to kind of go ahead and get it right in the future. And that recognition that early on it's going to be harder and slower, but that's expected, that that's all part of the plan, and over time you will improve and you will get better at this. And I think just giving people the space to kind of go through that process and the time through the training is really beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. So just very quickly, Nick, okay, can you condense this down into a few minutes?
I'll do that for you, Tony. Yeah. I mean, this is about how we can ease the concerns. So we've actually touched on quite a few of these already, but managing expectations, sort of to address those fears and anxieties is key. Recognizing the different journeys that people will need to go on is another thing. Being realistic and sort of saying it's not going to be perfect necessarily on day one. And I always talk about this as well with ERP or any program, is that what the ERP is an enabler for some benefits, right? And getting to a go live is the start of that journey. It's the start of that. And we cannot expect to deliver all the benefits in month one. And that's why we want people bought in. So managing their expectations. Yes, we're going to deliver some benefits early, but some are going to take time, and be realistic about it and what their role is in that. So I think that's a key one for me around managing expectations. I don't know, Shelley, if you've got anything on from a training perspective here.
Yeah, I guess training could be used to reinforce a lot of these change messages as well. I think the collaboration between training and change team is really important, and so those messages can be reinforced, and we can ease user concerns by sort of, during the training sessions, talk about the benefits, not just sort of like the business benefits, but actually really realize the benefits at an individual level, and sort of talk to people about that, and kind of say, it might seem longer to start with, but actually, you're doing less admin, you've got more focus on your day job, and we can do all that messaging through training as well and support that change messaging, which actually kind of is a nod to that early and continuous collaboration piece at the bottom. I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but you've got that grey block underneath, and the collaboration between training and change, and obviously you've got that time where we're completing a training needs analysis, we're looking at what people need to know, but also that the change strategy will feed into that, understanding where we're more likely to come up against resistance, we need to tailor our approach to different people is really key. So I think that collaboration with change is really important to help that user journey, and we work together as a team to get people moving forwards.
Yeah, I mean, just coming on to the stakeholder piece here, Nick. I mean, it's not necessarily just senior stakeholders, is it? We're talking stakeholders of all levels throughout the business, and creating almost like a cohort or a coalition, so that every angle of the business can be considered, and that then, I guess, would play a part in creating support networks, change champions. Is that very much how you see it from a change perspective?
Yeah, definitely. There are influential people around the business. Somebody who's been has 25 years experience is very influential, and a stakeholder that you need to engage with closely. You can learn so much from them, and also they can offer so much for you. So yeah, I know I wouldn't say this, but I think there are probably people in the business that probably I see as more influential for me than my boss. So it's so I think understanding those and using them, and I think from a leadership point of view as well, it's one of the things that often gets forgotten is regular engagement and maintaining the the messaging, and being able to sort of always be able to tie things together for people is key. So I spend a lot of time doing leadership engagement plans, so working with those leaders, checking in with them to see how their teams are doing, see if we need to do anything to help them, but also how we can help them in terms of like trying to get things changed. So a lot of time spent on this to help with the change. Yeah.